based. It's based, baby. You guys thought it'd be shit. You guys thought it'd be dudes with hentai mats or hella cringe. It was not. The deck is based as fuck. Welcome back to the channel. The beard is back to give you the #1 objective, high quality, factual, tender. Because we are here, we do have, we're in touch with our feelings. And humble, base/cringe list in the game, bar none. You guys blew me away with the support from part 1, which I'll link right up here. You guys gave me great suggestions for part 2, and I've done my best to fit those recommendations here. Keep in mind that if you do not see a deck you suggested for part 2 in this part, it'll be in part 3, part 4, and other subsequent parts. Yu-Gi-Oh has a crap ton of decks. It feels like an infinite amount, and so we'll be able to pretty much analyze all decks here. But I had to sort of kind of recalculate which ones I want to do and which ones I don't want to do, because at some point, man, it was you guys had such based suggestions that if I just picked the decks you guys wanted, I mean, I feel like we would have had a bunch of base decks. So I got to spread out the base decks over a period of other videos, make it a little bit more interesting. And so today we've got 23 new decks to rank. Another thing I want to bring up to here before we continue, before we hop into the greatest tier list on YouTube, bar none, is the subscribers. We finally hit 500. You guys are the true MVPs. I'm so grateful. Every one of you that has clicked to subscribe to my channel, that likes the videos, that comments, that watches. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys are true MVPs. Mad respect, mad love. And
I'll kiss you on your forehead. You better stop playing with me. Hey, when we get home, I'm gonna kiss you on your forehead.
Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the list. Remember from the last list, the criterion we used to judge these decks is 1. End board. How generic and unfun is it? Emphasis on generic, but unfun also is very cringe. Alternate win condition. Do you rely on hand loops, floods, FTKs, right? If you rely on that, cringe. Artwork. How sick is your artwork? How sick is the lore? Sick dudes with swords, big dragons, you know, that's based. And then a reverse waifu tax / furry tax. If your deck if its artwork relies on being waifu bait or furry bait or whatever, some weird cringe stuff, then definitely is going to get dinged for that. As the old prostitute said to the sailor, let's just get on with this. We start with purely. So, of course, we need the objective calculator. Generic end board. It does not have any generic end board. The end board is somewhat unfun. It can be mixed with sprites and ghost tricks. So, I would give this a 6. Does it rely on any kind of unfun loops, FTKs, floodgates, blah, blah, blah? It can run shifter. It can run summon limit. It can run a lot of different floodgates. Its boss monster is a floodgate. And so overall, I'll just give this a 5. Artwork-wise, I despise the artwork. I think it's pretty ugly. I mean, it's unique. It's cool. It's kind of based off Eevee and Pokemon, but overall, it's not my cup of tea. The artwork's not good, and so we'll give this a 4. Finally, waifu / furry tax. That's a 2, because this is definitely like free. I mean, this is a 1, actually. So, to start off the list with a bang, we got a cringe deck. Purely with 16 points. Next, we have an all-time favorite. So many people's favorite.
Live White Dragon! Now, Blue Eyes, attack his Exodia Necros! You lose!
Used to be one of the best decks in the game. Used to be garbage, then got hella support, then sucked. And now we're back at square one. End board. It does do pretty generic stuff. Let's not cap ourselves. It really doesn't have any of its own end board monsters except for Spirit Dragon, so we'll have to give this a 7. Does it rely on any kind of like stupid floodgates, FTKs, stuff like that? Not really. I think it can side in skill drain, but overall it doesn't really rely on anything too crazy, so we'll give this a 9. Artwork wise, artwork is phenomenal. It does get a little bit samey because they do that thing where it's like, here's another one, here's another one. They're just the same thing over and over and over again. So overall, We'll give this an 8. And finally, waifu tax. It does have waifus, unfortunately, so I'll just give this a 7. They are somewhat tasteful. Like, it is from the anime. It's not just some like Konami made it just to sell cards or the set, or like players aren't drooling over Maiden. So surprisingly, because Blue Eyes is one of my favorite archetypes, being 31, almost based, is really interesting. Let's do Ancient Gears. End board. I don't think you can even make an end board. I mean, it's a go in second deck. It makes like unaffected dudes, but they're usually unaffected like attacking and stuff like that. There's one dude that can attack a million times that is unaffected during the battle phase, I think. So, yeah, overall, it doesn't make anything like stupid, unfun, and generic. So we'll give this a 10. Does it rely on any kind of stupid gimmick, FTK, floodgate, stuff like that? Not really. Overall, I think it's a going second deck, so it's inherently fair. We'll give this a 9 because it's a machine deck, and I feel like machine decks could be broken in some capacity. Artwork is cool, very samey in some capacity, right? Like Ancient Gear Golem, Ultimate Pound, Ancient Gear Golem, the new one. Like, it's kind of this point, like, you know, like come up with something else, right? You made Ancient Gear Golem terrible, but then you require him another, like, in some effects. It's just weird. I'll give that an 8. And then finally, waifu tax. They're machines. They don't have any waifus in the archetype. No furries either. And so we're looking at a 37, our first base deck of the tier list. It only took us 3 decks to get here, so nice. Next we do Cyframes. Cyframes end board. Is it generic? No. It can make generic things, but overall it's not really very generic. I mean, it doesn't even have an end board. It just has a thing of hand traps. Hand traps are awful, garbage, unfun thing. Well, some are fine, but these are the negate and destroy kind. So you just lose your resource instead of like being like Ash or Effect Veiler, where yes, they negated the effect, but you still keep the resource. You still make plays with it. Cyframes are very disgusting. Their whole goal is activate a field spell, wait till you do anything, negate your stuff, summon Omega, loop your hand, activate another negate. So they're gonna just negate the hell out of you. And they have an answer for everything. It's not a great deck, but that's not the point of these lists. The point of these lists isn't to, you know, only rate great decks. We're rating everything. And so Cyframes will give the end board overall like a 1. Annoying win conditions and stupid things that it relies on. Also a 1. It's literally a deck of hand traps. Artwork wise, they're kind of ugly. Driver looks interesting, but like there's nothing going on here that's that good. So we'll give it a 2. Finally, waifu tax or furry tax. They do have a waifu in the archetype, but it's only 1, I think. So we'll do a 5. So with a score of 9, we have our first dudes with hentai mats ranking. Then we have Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon end board. What does it make? Usually makes its own stuff. Does it make generic stuff? I think in Stellar Pleiades once in a while. It's very, very fine. So it's like, I'll give that an 8. Does it rely on anything annoying? Other than the fusing away your opponent's field, but that is going second, which we inherently like allow. We like to rank that higher. I think that's fine. I think 8 is fine. Artwork is pretty cool. Has the same issue as Blue Eyes. They rely on everything being just the same thing over and over, like Ein, Divine, Drei, Ziege, all the different ones. So we'll do another 8 here, to be fair. And then finally, waifu tax, none at all. So we'll do with a score of 34. Cyber Dragons is with Blue Eyes. It's actually ahead of Blue Eyes right here. And I do not even care for Cyber Dragons that much. This is an objective tier list. You see how objective we are here? We are as objective as it gets. The objective channel for base cringe tier content, baby. Now we have Super Heavy Samurais. And in its current form, it's still a combo deck. It doesn't really rely on attacking defense mode and its whole gimmick from the show. End board. It's exclusively generic. It's a 0. Exclusively generic. I don't think they make a single Super Heavy. Next, any kind of FDK crap. Yeah, it literally had an FDK. The fact that it did have one, and if you return the Scareclaw, I think, or Scarecrow, whatever the guy's name is, you would have that FTK again. So this is like a 3. This is very dangerous. Artwork. I personally don't like the Super Heavy Samurais at all. They look pretty ugly. So we'll do 2. And then finally, hentai. Oh my god, what am I saying? Dudes with hentai mats. Finally, the waifu tax. There's no waifus, I don't think, in here. So we'll give this a 9. And with a score of 14, Super Heavy Sam's, the cringe deck. Nothing so far in Milquetoast, very impressive. Dark Magician.
The Dark Magician has chosen me. He has never let me down.
We have end board. Is it annoying? Is it Generic wise, it is not annoying. It's a little annoying. Overall, I'd give it a 9. Does it rely on any kind of FTK hand loop BS? It does not. So that's another 9. It can run skill drain, but not very effectively. Artwork wise, same thing as any of these anime archetypes, such as Ancient Gear, Cyber Dragon, Blue Eyes that we've already ranked. All of these have the problem of here's this guy and here's this cousin of his that looks exactly like him, and here's another cousin that looks just like him. Like, it gets really samey. It's very not creative. What's more interesting, the Dark Magician route, where they just go, here's his rod, here's his robe, here's this, here's his soul, bro. Or Red Eyes, where it's like, remember that dude from the show Gearfried? We made him a Red Eyes. Like, that's kind of like epic. So for that, we'll give the artwork an 8, just as we did with the other ones. And then finally, waifu tax. Ooh, the waifu tax. Oh, I'm pretty sure Dark Magician Girl was made for the anime. It wasn't intended to be waifu bait and bait for the players, but unfortunately, that's what she's come out to be. And so we can't really give this more than like a 7. And even giving that seems generous. And so with a score of 33, right past Blue Eyes, we have Dark Magician, and they're so close. And as you can see, you see how balanced and fair we are with this analysis, because I love Dark Magician, I love Blue Eyes, and I did not rank him in the base category because this is an objective Criterion video. We don't just say whatever, right? We do what is objectively correct. And apparently what's objectively correct is Cyber Dragon, Dark Magician, and Blue Eyes are so close to being based, while Ancient Gears are based, which I don't even care for Ancient Gears. Now we have Satellar Knights. Satellar Knights end board. It's pretty generic. I know they can, not generic. It's pretty in theme, but it can do a lot of generic stuff. So we'll give this a 7. Does it rely on any annoying win condition? Yes, it relies on literally skipping your opponent's turn, which is probably the worst one I've ever seen, which is a 0. Fat freaking 0. Artwork, they actually have the same problem as anime archetypes. They all look the same, not creative. They have some nuances about them, but they all look the same. I know some of them are based like a continuation of the dual terminal lore or whatever, but still, they're very samey looking. So the artwork can't be more than like a 7. And then waifu tax, I mean, the Neb exists. I'm sure like they're more tasteful, but I still wouldn't give it more than like a 6. And so with a score of 20, Satellar Knights with the Milquetoast from The Office, the first Andy from The Office Milquetoast ranking so far. Now we got Invoked. End board. That can be teched into a lot of different stuff, be very generic, and so I can't really go over a 6 with this. Does it rely on any kind of like stupid stuff? Sometimes. I mean, like overall, it has a negate. It can be splashed in different things, so it's very hard to control Invoked's power level. It can be crazy. So we'll give this a 7. Artwork wise, the artworks are pretty crazy, pretty cool. Invoker, if you guys have researched anything about Alistar Crowley, the dude is like a straight up one of the worst men to ever live, a straight up Satanist. And so I can't really give this more than like a 5, because like that's what it's based off of, his lore, right? We judge also lore here. And so that's a 5. And then finally, waifu tax. I don't think he even has a waifu, unless y'all consider Alistar Crowley the freaking waifu, which, guys, look him up. He did not look as nice as Alistar the Invoker did. Man was a bald, fat English dude. So we'll give this a 5. Actually, no, what am I talking about? We'll give this a 9. So with a score of 27, we have another deck in the Andy from The Office category. Now we go to Dogmatica. Dogmatica. Let's talk about the end board. It's also like Invoked. Sometimes they're paired together. It can be splashed into each other. Can have degenerate end boards, generic end boards. It can somewhat have some generic end boards, so I'll give it a 7. It still does rely on its own stuff. Does it rely on any kind of like FTK bullcrap, floodgate, stuff like that? It can. And Alboa, when you resolve it, is really, really bullcrap. So we'll give this a 5. Artwork-wise, I think they all look straight up phenomenal, other than Alboa. Alboa is just uglier, more like, not uglier, but I guess like the same looking version of Dispatter, right? And Dispatter is hideous. We know how much we hate him on this channel. So Alboa is absolutely disgusting. So I can't really give this more than like a 4. He by himself, like he's like a negative 100, and then you have the other ones that are like solid 10s. And so what's the average between a negative 100 and like 10s, right? Like it's got to be somewhere like a 4. And then finally, waifu tax. Ooh, got Ecclesia, got Fleur-de-Lis. I know they're tasteful, but they're still there. So we'll give this a 5. And with a score of 21, we have another 3 straight Milquetoast decks. Come on, what is going on? Where are the base decks? Where are the dudes with hentai mats? Dynamorphia. End board. I think it does its own thing. So we'll do a 10. And I don't think it's pretty annoying at all. I mean, yeah, it's trap cards, but they're pretty reasonable. Then next, does it rely on any kind of like FDK crap? I don't think so. Dynamorphia players, please chime in the chat. Do you guys have FDKs or floodgates or bullcrap? I don't think you do. So I'm going to give this a 9. But if I find out that you do, I'm going to ding this post video. And then artwork-wise, they look pretty cool. They're like dinosaur people, like Power Ranger looking things. Pretty interesting. I'll give that an 8. And then finally, waifu tags. It does have waifus, but they are somewhat tasteful, but they're still like waifus. So we'll do like 6 here. And then a so close to being based. When will we get another based deck? Is Ancient Gear just going to have to carry this tier list by itself? Probably. We go to Altergeist. Altergeist and board. I'm going to give this a 0. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. Does it do anything annoying or floodgatey or stupid? It is the deck that does that. I know it has combos now. No one gives a crap because no one runs those. Artwork, it's absolutely hideous. It is the ugliest deck I've probably ever seen other than Dispatter. If Dispatter was its own archetype, it would finally take it. But this is just absolutely disgusting. I can't believe that someone drew these things. And then waifu tags, I'm pretty sure they're all like girls, but there's no one really is interested in that. But I don't know. I'm still gonna give this a 0 because it fulfills all the categories. I'm pretty sure a chick played him in the show. So with our first score of 0, bro, 0 out of 40 Altergeist dudes with hentai mats, the ugliest, the stupidest archetype, the worst design, the worst mechanics. Here's a secret village. You can suck me off now. They're just sitting there like the Altergeist player just activates secret village with metaverse and just goes like horrible. Not like I just can't. I can't, man. I'm putting this like I wish I could put it like here somewhere underneath the screen. Dudes with hentai mats. Lowest deck, worst deck. Crystal Beasts. Let's see, hopefully Crystal Beast can fix my mood now after seeing Altergeist. End board. It's entirely generic, guys. Unless you run the trap stun version, which then just becomes annoying. So we're gonna give this like a 4. Does it rely on any kind of FTK bullcrap? Not particularly. It doesn't make like a lot of negates like Appaloosa and stuff like that. We give that a 7. Artwork I used to hate Crystal Beasts in the show, but now they've grown on me as time has gone on. Overall, I think their artwork is cool, and the fact that they have like multiple different like cards as opposed to Blue Eyes, which has like here's a Blue Eyes and here's another Blue Eyes, here's another Blue Eyes. It's like this is actually like tasteful where it has multiple different monsters. I give this a 9. And then finally, waifu tax. It does not have any waifus. It does have furries, I guess, but they're tasteful. They look like animals. They're not just like some fake shit like purrely. So we'll give that a 10. And with a score of 30, another almost base deck in Crystal Beasts. Now we got Spriggans, a viewer demand. Most of these were viewer demanded, but end board. It used to have Cyberstein FTK bullcrap. Now I think it just makes its own generic stuff. I don't think you can even go off that hard. And so we'll give this like an 8. Any kind of FTKs or hand loops or anything like that, I don't think so. It used to, but I don't think so. We'll just do like a 7. It is machines. Machines can be broken very easily. Artwork-wise, the artworks are very interesting. They're not like really cool looking, but they're like bombs or fireworks and spirits. So it's really interesting design. I'll give that an 8. And finally, waifu tax. Unless you count Ecclesia, which technically she's not a part of this archetype, that's like a 9. And so another, so close to being based, so close. Why do we have so many so close decks? What happened to based? Orcust. Orcust is back, baby. End boards. I think it makes its own for the most part. And so we'll give it an 8. Obviously you can splash like dark stuff like Phantom Knight, stuff like that, but overall it makes its own stuff. And like horrors, right? Does it rely on any kind of FTK garbage? I don't think so. So we'll give it another 8. It's dark, it's machine, it can be used probably for FTKs, but it doesn't have one currently, so I'm going to roll with an 8 here. Artwork-wise, I think they're hideous for the most part, other than like Girsu, so I'm going to give this like a 3. And then finally, waifu tags. It does have waifus, unfortunately. Yes, she's dead and reanimated, but she's still a waifu. So that's a 24. I give it a 5 for the waifu tags. 24 out of 40 Andy from the Office Milquetoast category. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. The GOAT flew underease. I know you guys wanted me to rip this deck a new asshole. and I might do it. Will I do it? No, I won't do it, because this deck is actually pretty sweet. Let's be objective about this. What kind of end board does it make? Is it generic? No, it makes its own thing, right? Is it annoying? Yes, but it's a field spell penguin, right? It can run the Harpy's Featherstorm, but that's not searchable. That's just a card that if you play into there, like if you hand trap them, then they'll hit you with Harpy's Featherstorm because they have thrusts, right? So overall, their end board isn't really that insane. I have to be fair and give this an 8, right? You guys might hate me, but that's pretty fair. Does it do any kind of FTK, hand loop, stun stuff? It used to, right? But Harpy's Featherstorm is hella annoying. So I'll ding this. I'll be fair. I'll give this a 6. With Barrier Statue, it would have been 0. But without Barrier Statue, you gotta understand, guys. This deck is pretty sweet. It's tribute summon mechanics. That's super old school. They're birds. Look at them. Artwork wise, dude, this is a 10. They look awesome. This is some of the most colorful, pretty artwork I've ever seen. And then finally, waifu tags. Don't think there's any kind of girls in this archetype, or furries, I guess. I mean, they're animals. They're pretty tasteful looking. I mean, look at the ones. They have little like, freaking things on their head. I'll give this a 10. And so we got a score of 34. Did we just missed out on Flunderies being based? Yes. So you know what I do as executive decider of this tier list? I'm going to give this, every time I can give one deck a +1, and I choose to give it to this one. +1 to Flunderies, 35 score. Flunderies is based. It's based, baby. Flunderies. You guys thought it'd be shit. You guys thought it'd be dudes with hentai mats or hella cringe. It was not. The deck is based as fuck. Now we got Flame Swordsman.
Go, Flame Swordsman! Turn up the heat and carve that dino like it was a big turkey.
Didn't you see what I did to your rock ogre? Attack!
Rex, you big dino dummy!
Flaming Sword of Battle!
Flame Swordsman end board. It relies on a lot of Infernoble stuff, so we'll give it a 6. Does it rely on any kind of like FTKs and negates? I mean, the Infernoble stuff does, so we'll give it another 6. Artwork wise, they're pretty cool, but they're all the same dude, just kind of moved around a little. So we'll give it another 7. And then finally, waifu tags. There is no waifu, so we'll give it a 10. Sorry, Flame Swordsman. You're the top of Milquetoast. I think if he just didn't have to rely on Infernobles, like if you do the pure variant, then he'd be based. But like that variant isn't even playable. And then Salamangreat. Salamangreat, end board. I'm pretty sure they rely entirely on their own stuff. So, and it's not really that annoying. It's like a counter trap, right? Like, or a pop. It used to do floodgates, stuff like that. So, you know what? I'll ding it just for that. I'll give it an 8 because it was relying on Gozen and Rivalry and those type of cards. Even though it doesn't now, it still can technically because they're still like, you can still run both. So that's an 8. Does it rely on any kind of FTK garbage floodgates? Well, like we just said, it does. But I don't think this version now will, because those floodgates are so hard to see. And so we'll give this another 8. Artwork wise, they suffer from the same problem that a lot of the so close to being base decks do. They all look the same. Like, they're literally all the same dude. Like, the Phoenix is cool, but like, there's little red robot looking animal, then another little red robot looking animal. It's all the same thing. So I'll give this a 7, as I've done with all the other decks that have the samey type of artwork. And then finally, waifu tax, it does not have anything of the sort in its archetype, and so almost based Salamangreat. So as we can see, we see a trend arising. Any deck that has very uninspired artwork, right? Like, and by uninspired, I don't mean bad. Salamangreat has somewhat decent artwork. Blue Eyes has great artwork. Dark Magician, but they're the same over and over and over. It's like, how can that be based, bro? You just paid an artist to draw 5 forms of the same dude and just call it different things. Mass Heroes. Actually, heroes in general, not just Mass Heroes. Hero deck. End board. Since it only makes hero stuff, we're going to be fair here. It does make annoying stuff, so we'll give it an 8. Right? Its ultimate end board is a Macrocosmos monster with a skill drain monster. Like, that's pretty AIDS. You know what? I actually got to ding that down to 6. That's really annoying. Does it rely on any kind of floodgates, FTK, stuff like that? It does. It's another 6. Artwork-wise, they're pretty cool. Got no complaints here. Give it a 9. And then finally, waifu tax. I mean, Burstinatrix. Like, come on. Like, if we're going to ding for Dark Magician Girl, we're going to ding for Burstinatrix. So I'll give that a 7. And second highest in the milquetoast category is Heroes. I'm sorry, guys. I know Heroes are a fan favorite. If I was not objective, I would put them higher just to satisfy you guys. But because we are objective on this channel, because this channel is peak objectivity, we got to be fair here, right? Water. N-board. I mean, generic to water, I guess. But it's still pretty fair. Like, I mean, Crystal Wing, sometimes. I'll give it an 8. Any annoying stuff? I don't think so. They can rip 2 cards from your hand, but then if you remove that, they like basically runic themselves and they have no battle phase. So, and they can't remove them from the field, or also it'll trigger it, too. So I'll probably say 7. Artwork wise, they're pretty based. I gotta say, this is like 10. And then waifu tax, they do have a lot of waifus, but I think they're somewhat tasteful. We'll give this a 7. And so another, so close to being based, so close, bro, so close. Earth Machine, N-board, I think exclusively deals with its own thing, like water, right? But it doesn't have anything like stupid, annoying about the N-board, so we'll give it a 10. Actually, it's Machine, so we can't give it a 10 because it could be used for an FTK. Machines are just broken. Does it rely on any FTKs, floodgates, stuff like that? I don't think so, so we're gonna give it another 9. Artwork-wise, they're pretty metal, no pun intended, plus 9 again. And then finally, waifu tax, no waifus here. And finally, bro, we get another base deck. And in fact, the highest one in base is Earth Machine with a score of 37. And now we'll actually lead off with Teardrop, and then we'll finish with Red Eyes. Rika, plant deck. N-board. It's pretty generic for plants, but it's mostly just plant stuff. How do I penalize this, right? It's a lot of negates, a lot of interrupts. So we'll give this like a 7. Does it have annoying win conditions, floodgates, stuff like that? I mean, we just talked about their negate boards, so we'll give it a 5. Artwork-wise, I think their artworks are overall like awful, other than Teardrop, so I'll give this a 3. And then finally, waifu tax, they're all waifus, so it's a 0 there. And with a score of 15, here she is, another cringe deck. If you play these, sorry, bro or sis. And then Red Eyes, Black Dragon.
Time for Red Eyes to fight back! Destroy his Blue Eyes White Dragon with Inferno Fire Blast! All right, you may have saved yourself for now, but this duel's far from done!
N-board. Exclusively makes its own junk. 10. Does it rely on FTKs or stupid stuff? It does kind of burn a little, but that's pretty cool. Like, that's not that bad. It doesn't burn you. You control the burn, right? With the the XCs or Meteor Black Dragon can't like burn you to death. So we'll give that like a 9. Artwork wise, they're the one archetype that doesn't just have here's the same dude over and over again. They do have that. But overall, they do have like Red Eyes Baby Dragon, Red Eyes Gear Free Knight, Red Eyes, like all these ones. So I got to give this a little bit more of a boost than the other anime archetypes. I'll give this an 8. And then finally, is there any waifus? No. And so with a score of 37, we have Red Eyes Dragon, which, as you can see, this is true objectivity. Dark Magician Blue Eyes I like more than Red Eyes, but I put Red Eyes in there because Red Eyes is more based. If you play Red Eyes, you are more based than if you play Dark Magician or Blue Eyes. This is how it is. Joey was more based than Yami and Kaiba. Like, this is facts. This isn't something like out of the ordinary. Guys, this is the tier list. This is part 2. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed me insulting all your favorites, I know I did, make sure to like, because it literally gives me the juice, like Baker Mayfield, ripping smelling salts. Also, if you have any deck you'd like to see in future installments of this series, make sure to comment down below, and I'll do my best to get them in there. You guys are the true MVPs, and thank you so much. Peace.